What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. Today is the day that I brought home my favorite watch, my first Rolex. It's the watch that I've had on my bucket list for quite a while, and that is none other than Rolex Submariner. The reference number 114060 might not tell you a lot because there's a lot of references out there. Rolex Submariner is always changing, but it's always kind of the same, but always changing. And if you're confused about reference numbers, if you're confused about maybe why I considered to get this reference number or what is it all about, this is the episode that I want to explain to you a little bit. In today's episode, we're also going to go just a brief story about the watch, what it was started at, and what it has become. Also, the reasons why I decided to get this specific watch. And if you're in the market looking for your first Rolex or looking for a Submariner specific, maybe in this video you'll find the reasons why you should get it yourself. And at the very end, I will also tell you two things that I actually don't like about this watch, even though it's been on my bucket list. So before we jump into the video, I just want to make a quick statement, something that I believe, and if you guys disagree with me or agree, please let me know down in the comments below. But nothing beats the hunt for a watch. So from the moment that you lay your eyes on a piece, that is the most exciting moment. From the time when you see it, you fall in love with it, you don't know how you're gonna get it. It might be too expensive for what you can afford. It might be too rare and you don't have the connection, or maybe just the wait line is too long for you. So through all of these challenges of getting the piece that you've started to like, until you actually get it, that is the most exciting part. This whole process, the hunt for the watch. So with that being said, let me know down in the comments. I'd like to know what you guys think. Firstly introduced in 1953, Rolex Submariner was only a tool watch. It was a true tool watch and absolutely nothing else. It was a well thought, well designed tool watch. And it had no intentionality on becoming what it is now, which is very far from a tool watch. Now, when I say that, it doesn't mean that the watch no longer is as tough or durable or functional as it was before. Yes, it is. Might be even better, but no one looks at it anymore from the tool perspective. No one uses it as a tool. And as a matter of fact, Nico Leonard has the best take on the Rolex Submariner, and I think in general at the Rolex brand, but he refers to the Submariner here, and I think I agree with him. Let's hear what he says.
What does the Rolex Submariner says about you? It says that you're absolutely not a diver. You're a traditionalist. You bought that watch as a memento. That was an achievement for you. Or you bought that watch to celebrate a different achievement of yourself. People that wear Rolex Submariners are always sales guys. They either sell insurance policies, life insurance, whatever the They're on the verge of corporate, but they're not as high on the ladder as they think they are. They're probably boring without any inspiration in any way, shape, or form, but there's nothing wrong with that.
Now, I know this video might piss a lot of watch enthusiasts or Rolex addicts or Submariner lovers. They might piss it off, but if you put aside the emotions and the love for the brand and for the watch and just think logical, he is right. He has a point. No one sees the Rolex Submariner as a tool anymore, or the brand in general. Going back to the story, Rolex Submariner was such a tool watch or such a good-looking tool watch that movie producers started to incorporate this watch and give it to the main actors to wear it in their movies. And that was actually pretty cool because I might be too young to know how Rolex was advertising back in the 50s and 60s, but we have countless actors that have worn these watches in their movies, and they've always had short glimpses and moments of them either lighting up a cigarette and they'd showcase the wrist or the watch, or whenever they would drive, have their hand on the steering wheel, and there would be a catch moment that would be pretty cool, or things like that in their fight scenes whenever they try to do something smart, cool with their hands, whatever. And that was something that back then, I was a kid watching these movies, and I never knew what watch it was, but I knew I wanted a watch like that. And that was pretty cool. The specific model that I have on my wrist is reference number 114060. The watch is no longer in production, but it was first released in 2012, and it's probably the most recent stainless steel sub that was discontinued, replaced by 114060 in 2020. The 114060 features a number of upgrades from previous generation Submariner 14060M. Most noticeably is the black ceramic bezel with platinum inserts. Rolex calls this material Cerachrome, which, unlike the aluminum bezel of the 14060M, is scratch resistant. But under the hood, this Rolex is still powered by the same caliber 3130 automatic movement as the previous model 14060M. The watch that I currently have on my wrist features a 40mm case with a 12mm in thickness and 20mm lug width. But the best thing, which I'm gonna stop here, the best thing about the lug width here is if you continue to go down all the way to the clasp, then it tapers to 15mm, and that gives it aesthetically one of the most pleasing looks in a watch. Is whenever you look down at your wrist, at the clasp, and you rotate your hand and you look at the watch, well, this transition from the clasp to the watch, seeing this bracelet taper out and becoming just bigger, it is aesthetically looking absolutely beautiful, and it's probably one of the things that makes this watch, or Rolex in general, just stand out from any watches out there. Like I said, Rolex caliber is 3130 with a depth rating of 300 meters, water resistance, unidirectional rotating bezel with sapphire crystal as you can imagine, and has a power reserve of 48 hours. One cool thing that you'll find with Submariner, and it's the same with this model, is the glide lock extension system in the clasp, which allows you to adjust the watch for various wrists. This really is a genius way because you don't always have the possibility to have a toolkit with you to remove a link or to add a link to your watch in case you want to, swap watches with somebody. You would always have to go either to a watch store that will do it for you, that increases the chance of scratching it, or even for yourself in these spring days when it's cooler in the morning and it's warmer in the afternoon. In the afternoon, you're all out and about doing things. Your wrist can swell a little bit and it can become more uncomfortable. And with that being said, you can adjust your watch within 5 seconds on the spot without absolutely any tools. And that is a thing that after you see it, after you experience it, you just start to think, why isn't every watch doing that? It is such a genius idea. It is also worth noticing, and this is probably the biggest battle that the subs enthusiasts have, and that is either to go with the date or no date sub. And a lot of the times it feels like it's more common to see or people to agree on the date and not so much on the no date. But if we actually look at the story of the Submariner, the first Rolex Submariner, it actually had no date. So the Rolex Submariner no date was actually the original. And when people think right now of the Submariner, they immediately think of one with the date, and it's something abnormal as the one with no date. I've had this countless times when people ask me and I said, I'll always choose the no date because I think it's more balanced, and they've looked at me as if I was a little bit crazy. But little did they know that it is the OG, it is the proper way to have your Submariner without a date, and it is a little bit abnormal for it to have a date. Nothing wrong with that. If you prefer a date, there are people that will not wear a watch that does not have a date. They need it, maybe for their work, for their schedule, busy life, and I totally understand that. But if we're looking from the Submariner world, the no date is the proper Submariner. What makes the sub really cool is the lasting power. What initially was a tool now represents so much more. And like Hodinkee likes to call it, it is the ultimate everyday everything watch. Now, as much as I love this watch, like I said, there are two things that I don't particularly like. And one of them, the first thing, is actually something that I've noticed after I came home with the watch. And that is the bubble back case. The bubble back case is what prevents this watch, and although it's a thin watch at 12mm, it prevents it to sit well on the wrist. It rather floats a little bit, and I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like maybe I could go past it with time. I'll wear it a lot more and I'll see. But for now, it actually kind of bothers me. The second thing that I don't like about it, it's in general the fact that it's a Rolex. It sure is a conversation starter, but you know who also this watch attracts? The non-watch enthusiasts, the criminals. I consider myself pretty lucky that I live in a city that does not have watch theft. But even with that, I still have to be careful. I still feel like sometimes I'm getting weird looks when I have this watch on my wrist. Some maybe just admire it, but sometimes you have mixed up feelings. You don't know who's watching it. You don't know people's intentions. There isn't always good people out there. And if you buy a Rolex, a Submariner, such an iconic watch, then people that don't know watches, they'll know what this watch is. It is just that popular. And you know, a lot of the times it's just cool to not be so flashy. Just kind of be more subtle. Put it under your cuff. Maybe be more mindful of where you're going. Maybe. I never had this worry with any other watches where I've always felt safe about any of my watches. I've worn a Panerai, I have a Tudor, Longines. None of them really made me worry, but this one does. Maybe because it's very expensive, maybe because I spent a lot of money on it.